Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today is a full review of Ensar Oud's EO No.1. The original batch of this sold out within like a couple of days. Ensar is so well respected and people know that he uses basically the best materials on the planet. Sold out like that. This is a later version that's being created after EO No.2, which is that one is based around Siberian deer musk. This one is based around rose, leather, oud and ambergris. When I met Ensar, he kindly gave me a little sample of EO No.1 and EO No.2 so I could review them for you. This one is the Pure Parfum version. So this one is very special because it's probably the only perfume in the world that's sold in literally 100% ambergris tincture. It's not being diluted down with regular alcohol. It's just pure ambergris tincture. Like, no one does that because ambergris is incredibly expensive. So yes, this perfume is expensive, but it's also the whole thing is ambergris tincture, which is incredible. Nobody does that, and it is a little bit crazy. The bottles for the fragrance are stunning. They're in a wrapped leather case, which is very special. It's hand cut, sewn, stitched by a man called Habib Dingle, who is a bookbinder by trade and specializes in leatherwork and woodwork. He binds books in both wood and leather and has even bound the personal Bible of the Pope. So incredible, story there in the creation of the presentation of the bottle. High-end leather from a master leather craftsman, all hand cut and hand stitched together. So immaculate presentation that looks beautiful. I held it in my hand when I met Ensar and it is stunning. So this is a newer version of the original that's slightly tweaked and enhanced from the original version that went out. And based on feedback that Ensar got, he just kind of tweaked the formula a little bit, and I'm going to read you the official notes that are listed for it now. So in the top notes we have Morocco agarwood resin, lavender, rosewood, cyanwood, nutmeg and castoreum, with heart notes of wild Cambodian oud, which listed further down is basically the most incensiest Cambodi he's ever distilled. Himalayan, Turkish, French and Edward rose, 4 types of rose in this perfume. Jasmine, Toluban, civet, with base notes of wild aged Nagaland oud. 1970s red Mysore sandalwood, distilled himself by Ensar. Ambergris, vintage Papuan sandalwood, tobacco, vanilla, oak moss and Ethiopian frankincense. The first thing I immediately noticed with the fragrance, the first note that hits me was the rose, and this is the most ethereal smelling rose I've ever smelled. It's a beautiful rose note. I mean, I can't describe it in words properly other than that it's beautiful, it's almost sparkly and ethereal, and not like any rose perfume I've ever smelled before. It doesn't smell like you're smelling the pure rose absolutes where it can smell dark and this, it's really hard to explain. It's almost like the rose is velvety and slightly sweetened and ethereal and sparkly, and I believe it's just the way that it's basically floating in ambergris, and the ambergris smells amazing. I have never smelled anything like this fragrance in this context. I mean, the ambergris has this effect of, like I say, smelling ethereal and a little bit sparkly and almost musky. You would be forgiven to think that there's maybe deer musk in here because it has a muskiness to it, but it's the ambergris, and it's amazing. It has this musky, almost has an effect of smelling like a velvet blanket or something like that. The texture of it is so ridiculously smooth that it could be like a luxurious velvet. I get nuances of the tobacco, which add, I'm not sure I particularly get too much of the nutmeg because nutmeg is listed as one of the spices. I think maybe it's more the tobacco that's giving it this slightly more aromatic nuance to the fragrance. which you smell in the opening and early midsections of this kind of slightly sweet, kind of slightly spiced aromatic quality, which I feel is most likely the tobacco. And yeah, as it starts to dry down is when you start noticing the kind of incensey woods, the oud. Now it doesn't hit me as smelling, if you're expecting like a huge oud bomb, I personally don't get that. I can't identify like regions of oud, not that I'm an expert in that anyway, but how it comes across to me is that the oud smells like a dark, rounded, soft wood. It smells oudy, it smells woody and dark, but it's rounded, it's mellow. It's not going to punch you in the face with a barnyard oud or, you know, a super like specific smelling oud. It's this beautiful, mellow, dark woodiness that it provides with a hint of an incensey nuance. And as it dries down with that dark, woody oudiness, that like I say is very mellow and soft, it's not going to punch you in the face with a strong oud. I feel like even a person that believes that they hate oud, I read comments all the time from people say they hate oud. I don't believe that they've ever smelled proper artisanal oud oil, because I can't wrap my head around why someone would not think it smells beautiful and amazing. Like, artisanal oud oil is so nuanced and complex. They're a whole perfume in themselves, and there's nothing ugly about them. They're beautiful. And this, to me, even anyone that knows nothing about oud would say that this smells beautiful. I can't imagine, the word that I used when I was with Ensar to describe how I felt about the blend was, I described it as universally beautiful. And I feel like that if you go up to someone with no expectations at all and smell this, I can't imagine too many people in the world are going to say it smells bad. It has a universal beauty and appeal to it. It's just very tasteful. And I just think it's the way that ambergris coats everything, softens it all and makes it like ethereal and light and musky in a way, and tones down that oud into just a really nice soft dark woodiness. Very, very beautiful. But like I say, not specific oud profiles, just a dark kind of sense of the wood with this incensey kind of nuance. The leather, for me, I definitely get the nuances of it later, but I don't particularly smell that in the opening or the early midsections. It takes like 20 minutes, half an hour for me to start to get a sense of this leather vibe, which is quite different actually to the reviews I've seen of the earlier batch. When people started doing reviews of the first batch, I did watch them all, and I feel like I have a different experience to everyone that's tried it, and I don't know if it's the batch is quite a bit different to the original, or if I just pick out different things. I'm not quite sure on that, but people described the original one as being kind of a big hit of leather and oud, and that it smelled like the casing of the bottle. And I don't quite get that from my experience on my skin with this one. I get a lot of the rose. The rose is the main thing I smell when I open it, and the oudy, incensey leatheriness comes a little bit later. But to me, it's not a hugely like in your face leather fragrance. It's not a hugely in your face oud fragrance. To me, it has harmony and balance where nothing is trying to smell too much up front. I get a very even blend as it starts to dry down between the rose, between the ambergris, between the oud and the incensey kind of vibe that has. And yeah, and the leather, nothing feels like it's fighting, in my opinion. Something about it makes it a little bit powdery, and I don't know if powdery is the right word, but the smell of velvet, where you have that feeling where you touch velvet and it's soft and it has that feeling to it. And yeah, you could say a little bit powdery. And at first I was thinking, before I read the note breakdown, I wonder if there's a touch of iris or orris butter in there, just a tiny nuance of it. It doesn't smell overly powdery, but there is a feeling of this kind of very soft smoothness that I kind of describe as velvet, but could be described as ever so slightly powdery. But maybe that's even the effect of the ambergris and the rose even. I'm not sure where it comes from, but it makes it feel really beautiful, and that you want to go back and keep smelling it because it's so soft and so smooth, and it really lends itself to being unisex because of that. It doesn't feel like a leather bomb, it doesn't feel like an oud bomb, it feels soft and yeah, like velvet, very, very smooth and sensual almost. I don't feel like the leather comes, I don't feel like it's a castoreum bomb, put it that way. I don't get huge amounts of castoreum. I feel like that has been used with a light hand just as a nuance, and that maybe some of the leathery facets are actually coming from the oud. But the castoreum feels like a light touch. The leather and the dark woodiness and the incensiness and the rose and the ambergris feels very balanced to me, like I say. And it kind of dries down as a one piece. There's no dramatic twists and turns in the fragrance as it dries down. Apart from the rose slowly fades away, you get a little bit more of the woody incensiness in the dry down. But you do get a sense of the brown leather, you do get a sense of the dark woody oud, you do get an incensey vibe, and it's wrapped up in this musky, velvety, soft, ethereal coating of the ambergris, which smells magnificent, but it's very understated. I don't feel like this is a showy-offy statement fragrance. This is very someone who's modest and doesn't want to show off. Like, it feels reserved and subtle and just tasteful and elegant in a beautiful way that's not trying to be too flamboyant or making a statement. This is, you know, grounded and modest in my opinion. I don't feel like I'm trying to show off with this fragrance like some niche brands feel like they're trying too hard to be fancy. This isn't being fancy, it's being tasteful and kind of elegant without being over the top. In terms of performance, I'm getting around 8 to 9 hours on my skin. It does tail off a little bit longer than that, but 8 to 9 kind of usable longevity. Performance in terms of sillage and projection is modest within the first couple of hours. Like, I can sense it around me, my own personal space, and I feel like it does leave a little bit of a sillage as you're walking through, and if people are up close they will smell you, but this does not project like crazy. If you want a loud projecting to let people know you're in the room, don't look towards high quality natural fragrances because they just don't provide that. It's synthetics that have this annoying, you know, making a statement as you walk into a room. These fragrances are modest in your own personal space. People have to come into your space to be able to smell it. And I think that's the way high quality perfume should be. You shouldn't knock people out from the other side of the room. That doesn't show class, and in my opinion, a fragrance should be within your space, invite people in, and you know, people that are close to you will smell it. But beautiful. The Pure Parfum version is expensive. I'll put a warning on it that it's not going to be for everyone, just for the sheer price. But I have no problem with the price because there are companies like Roja, like Xerjoff, that charge just as much or more than, that use inferior materials in comparison. There is no one that puts perfume in pure ambergris tincture and uses wild aged oud and 4 types of exotic roses. Like, no one does this kind of quality for this kind of price. It just doesn't exist, because if this was a branded perfume like Roja, this would go for £2,000. I have no doubt the bottle with the gold flakes in, it would be as much as that if Roja sold something like this. It just would. I have zero doubt in my mind about that. So although it is expensive, you are buying the finest quality perfume. There's no question about that. But there is 2 concentrations available. You can get the Eau de Parfum, which is more affordable. Obviously that is kind of diluted down with the alcohol, which is why it's less expensive. You know, like I say, you can spend more than that or as much for an inferior product. You know you're getting quality with Ensar, and as long as you're not expecting a huge showy offy kind of people that spend a lot of money to kind of show off, I don't think this is for you. You know, this is a reserved, modest, elegant, refined fragrance for someone with excellent taste. So this isn't a showy off piece, it's a beautiful, elegant, refined, modest perfume for real perfume lovers. I would say it's completely unisex as an extra point. It doesn't smell masculine, it doesn't smell feminine, it's straight down the middle, it is completely genderless. A woman would smell amazing with this. The oud and the leather are never so strong as to be off-putting to a woman, in my opinion. I feel like the ambergris does an amazing job of rounding all that off and making it very mellow and smooth and beautiful and very, very tasteful. I feel like it's completely unisex. In terms of season, I actually feel like this is an all year round fragrance. I feel if you spray a little bit less, it will be fine in the summer because there's nothing about it that's cloying or too heavy. That ambergris gives it this kind of light musky etherealness and kind of rounds everything off, where this would smell pretty good in the heat, and I feel like that will probably help with sillage and projection as well. If you like a little bit more of that, the heat will definitely lift it off the skin more. But definitely spring, autumn, winter. So maybe in the dead of winter it's not gonna lift off maybe as much, but generally speaking, all season fragrance. And on the price alone, probably more of a special occasion fragrance. But if you want to be one of the best smelling people in the room, then this is that's the time to wear it. It's beautiful. God, it's one that you want to smell over again. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to review EO number 2 hopefully soon, and I'll see you again next time with another video. Take care everybody, bye.